Running and removing is not the same. Removing yourself from a situation that you've realized is no longer beneficial is not the same as running. Removing yourself is just simply realizing, you know, I have too much value that I'm actually not either receiving, or I'm not able to grow anymore here. So in order for me to thrive, I need to place myself in a different environment with a different setting. Running is avoiding. Running means, for example, and we also say this too, if you see a red flag, you knew it was a red flag. You should have left. And I'm not saying stay for things that don't make sense, but what I'm also saying is see things through in full before you jump the gun. I think that's what running is, or I believe that's what running is. When you run, it's because you don't have the capacity to even to one see things through, or to two endure whatever might happen in your life. And I think sometimes, sorry about that. I believe sometimes people go through situations in their life where they feel like they've reached their full capacity of trials and tribulations. So their bandwidth in that next relationship is so low that they don't even give it a chance, and they quit before anything can actually happen. And when that actually happens, then the next thing you know is this person at some point, and we're seeing it now a lot, realizes that they're running nowhere fast. And now you don't have anything because of that perfect syndrome, because they told you that you deserve this, or you should receive that, or it has to look like this. And that's why I get so irritated when I hear people on the internet talking about you should never have struggle love. You need struggle love. I'm not saying have terrible love, but struggle within your relationship is inevitable. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter about the situation that you have. You are going to struggle, and struggle is supposed to build character or reveal character. And if I reveal that you're avoidant, if I reveal that you do not have problem solving skills, if I reveal that you cannot grow with me and go through things with me, then I honestly, I mean, by you running away is actually doing that person a favor, because they're freeing themselves from you. You're freeing them from you and your problems. Now, on the flip side, if you're able to go through these different types of obstacles, typically you see people who go through the most last the longest. But at the same time, nowadays, you're also seeing people who go through very little not last at all, right? So it's kind of weird, but I also feel like it's because of what we're seeing all the time, and what has to be perfect, or what's being pushed as what you should and shouldn't stand for. Back in the day, this is gonna sound crazy, but back in the day, cheating wasn't enough for you to leave a relationship. It was not enough for you to leave a relationship. Now, because of all the traumatic people who've gained a voice, right? If you cheat one
Now you
time,
sounding crazy.
no, but that's what I'm saying. They taught y'all that, like through, yeah, they taught y'all that if he or she, well, I'm gonna say
Who's
she, but I'm
y'all?
trying to be
Women?
fair. If
People.
he or she cheats one time, they're for the streets. They once a cheater, always a cheater. Who came up with that?
I was thinking about something like this earlier, and so I wondered where, because I feel like we have old sayings, and then I think in order for us to believe them, we put our little twist on it and make it sound believable. So speaking of this cheating thing, back in the day, or whenever it started, they used to say, uh, "Forgive but never forget," and I'm sure they still say that now, right? And I feel like the new spin on that is forgiveness is for you, not for them. So I feel that the person who started, or however forgive and never forget, was probably doing some dirt and got caught. I'm just spitballing ideas and came up with that. And I'll say she, because it was probably a man. She bought it, and it just kind of made its rounds around town. And then like our updated version is forgiveness is for you, not for them. And I think that's a scam.
I think it's two different sayings. I don't think it's the updated version, or I think they have
I just be in my head. You're probably right.
two different meanings.
But is it though? Because
It
we're
is.
still talking about forgiveness.
Right. You can forgive them and not forget, but that forgiveness is still for them in that saying. Forgiving for you is something completely different.
But is it? It's still forgiveness.
The topic is the same, but the message isn't.
And I'm saying the message is based off a lie anyway. Because what are you really going to forgive and forget?
Why are you guys so cynical?
I'm not cynical. Whenever I say what I believe it to be true,
It's a scam.
a scam is a scam, and that's how I feel.
When people were finding out that the milkman was dropping D off in his girl, like when women when our
When women needed
when our
men.
grandparents found out that, you know, our grandmothers found out that our grandfathers had families on the other side of town, you know, because at some point, I think what I'm trying to stop saying that. I believe at some point we got to this self-empowerment thing, which has
You
been
said
the
whatever that
kryptonite.
is. It's a scam too.
It's the worst thing that you can have, because self-empowerment also means to neglect what is the bigger picture if it is at odds with what you desire
Yeah, but
at that point in time.
this is
Now,
what I
but
don't.
wait.
Okay.
So now what happens is
Finish.
when we have this self-empowerment motion, you know, the women who did stay with that man who did have another spouse or mistress, I should say, on the opposite side of the town, wasn't because of his doings or her or who he was. It was because she understood the impact of the family. Nowadays, we are so self-empowered. It's like, you know what? My child will be all right without the mom or the dad there. My child will be all right if I move across or move down south while the other parent is living up north. We'll be all right. They'll figure it out. And we're not realizing that we're literally seeing and dealing with the products of what self-empowerment has caused. This is the ripple effect.
That's not self-empowerment. That's just selfish behaviors. That's selfish mindset. Now, you said that no, like women don't care about the bigger picture. When you're talking about forgiving a man for cheating, is he thinking about the bigger picture when he cheats in the first place? You can't put that on women. And you can't put this whole conversation on women not forgiving men anymore. Like it's just not the same.
That though.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
that
but the
was his
thing is,
example.
but what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to make sure is understood is that there were the consequences of cheating was not the spouse running at that time in comparison to today. So it wasn't the bigger picture was my wife is gonna leave me. That was actually a like crazy outcome.
Nowhere in his head.
Like
she
my
would
wife
leave.
is leaving me is insane. That's not happening.
Well, that's because she probably lacked resources to leave. So
That-
Well,
and that's
even-
what I was trying to get at. Back
But
in
even
those days.
even if, because even post that, right? Even post back in those days, I'm not saying back in those days where they didn't have that ability, because they've had the ability for at least 50 years.
So we'll say the 80s.
Even the 80s. Let's go with the 80s, right? The 80s, well, yeah, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s. But it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is now we've got to this point where running became the new thing that signified empowerment. I was able to run. If you see that he's using, this is the stupid shit that they're saying. If you see that he's using Apple Pay and not a physical card, run, sis. If you see that he's charging that credit card and not his debit card, he don't got money. Run, sis. Like, that's the stupid shit that I'm talking about, right?
Well, those are examples that that support your argument. True. We're saying run as if it always means something bad. Sometimes people do need to run from these men or from that relationship. Some people do need to run. Okay? Did we say hello Harriet Tubman, where are you running to? No, we didn't. She needed to go. Sometimes it was not easy for people to leave and they had to stay there. Now, in this day and age, yeah, I got my own shit. And that's where that empowerment comes from. Like, I don't need to stay here. And I don't need to put up with this hardship that I'm no longer capable of. I have the resources and I have the ability to walk away from you. And I'm just putting it out there that sometimes there's a difference. Some people leave too easy, but some people just have it.
But like, that's my thing. Removing and leaving is different, right? And we're not confusing them. right? Removing myself from a situation because there's no room for me to grow is not the same as saying I don't have to tolerate or deal with this, right? And this is just a general statement. And I think I believe what happened is, it's work in progress. I believe what happened is we got access to resources. We got access to the ability to build ourselves. Because everything you said was I, me, I have. And because I, me, I have means in my mind, I qualify and deserve X, which also means I don't have to deal with you or any of this. Does that make sense?
It does, but that's not the way that I was thinking, because that would be a part of the problem. People that just leave too easily. But I'm saying that in a situation where I'm in a relationship and we've probably went through a couple trials and tribulations already. We went through some hardships.
Mm.
Now, if I feel like, all right, I don't want to keep doing this because I'm in this relationship, this person's not changing, and there's no room for growth here, and I need to leave, then I can do that.
Okay,
See, it's the need to leave for me.
like,
It's because that would speak to the endurance of what he's saying. Because just because you're ready to give up and the other person is trying, it's it's not always going to be where we're both trying at the same time. Because I won't appreciate your effort right now because I'm being stubborn per se, or I'm just too blind to see that you're trying, or I'm too upset, or you did something that I feel is whatever it is, maybe disrespectful, whatever, and vice versa. So I don't think you really ever need to leave. I think that in your mind you have so many other options, and there's this thought in your head that the grass is greener.
Options definitely does play a part.
we have people where this self-empowerment has now also sparked entitlement, and people think that if you struggle, that is for the weak, the poor, and the undeserving. And the craziest thing is those who struggle typically have the most. And looking back at everything that's happening right now, we're in the microwavable era where people want to, drop a song and this is the one, right? And it's like, but back then you had to drop albums. You had to put in your work. You had to do your bid. We also have people who grabbing podcast mic and think because they got one or two videos that hit 600,000 or 1,000,000 views that they lit forever. And then they realize you need 100 more of those every 6 months. So like the thing is that we got to this mindset that if we go through something and say that we tried, it makes it okay for us to quit. Not understanding is like, okay, you tried until you faced real adversity that was consistent, but you never broke through. Like that's what I'm saying with the endurance. Do we have the endurance to break through? Whether it be your life, your relationship, or your job, whatever it is, maybe even your own insecurities, which is why you're seeing those same people who do not have the endurance constantly are running out of relationships every single time that they have a little bit of adversity, every single time that they feel uncomfortable. And that's the one thing that we are lacking is the ability to embrace being uncomfortable. That's why there's not that many successful people anymore. There's not that many real successful people who can teach you. The biggest speakers that we are seeing are the ones who went through the most shit. The biggest CEOs failed so many times. I mean, if you think, and I know we hate him, but think about Trump and his life. He was not successful this entire time in his whole run. He even lost the last time prior to.
But I think that's also because we're constantly being fed wins. Like if on your phone,
Highlights.
yeah, we're constantly being fed the highlights, and if that wasn't the case, then we would respect the people that lost more. He lost. He went bankrupt. He's a piece of whatever, however you feel about him. But that he hasn't always been on top.
And he's never stopped.
Yeah.
Even last week, right? The thought of cutting the umbilical cord and pushing your child out seems crazy because you don't want them to struggle. A previous conversation.
Yes.
We don't even want our children to struggle because we're like, damn, I know what it feels like to struggle. I don't want my child to feel and go through what I went through. They need to, because if you were the one who struggled and made it out, you're not understanding the lessons that came with those struggles. And if you strip away the struggle from your child, then you're going to strip away the ability to endure, right? They've never had to. So why would you expect them to do it now? It is a foreign, if let's just say hypothetically, I have a son who's 11 years old and I removed all adversity of his life besides his normal school adversity, right? And he goes to college. After college, he comes back home. He lives home. I never push him out. I say, hey, listen, whenever you're ready, you're ready. And now he's 30 years old, or he's 35 years old, right? Which they're saying the average age a man is moving out is going up and up and up and up, right? He's 35 in America. He's 35 years old, and then he gets out there and he falls on his face and he breaks down. You know what that breakdown and that loss is? His first real loss at such a late age. And realistically, a lot of people who were already embodying struggle moments, not the whole life, have figured it out by now. So you really compare yourself and you're usually comparing yourself to those who already went through the process and now can reign. There is an old saying, and the saying is, the grandfather has a Honda, the son has a Mercedes, the grandson has the Rolls Royce, and then the great grandson has the Honda. What do you think is missing? Adversity. Adversity is breeding that character. Adversity is teaching you how to value something. Adversity is teaching you how to earn something. When I take away that adversity, most times the wealth is lost. 60% of wealth is lost by the grandchild. Okay? That means that there is something that is something intangible that is not being implemented within or passed down in these generations. And it's literally the ability to endure and overcome and have the sense of ownership. We all know if I have to work 40 hours for $1,000, I'm going to value that $1,000 more than somebody who had to work 1 hour. We all know that. So how do you put your kids in that adversity state? Is you have to be able to allow them to fail. Whatever is going to be something that's going to be against the odds. You have to put them in a situation to lose so they can understand what else is out there, how to accept the loss, how to accept rejection, and then you have to be there to push them through to make sure that they don't quit. But if you do that too late, it's impossible. You're going to be babysitting forever. Like, that's the thing. Everybody's not going to make it, including your own. Like, I have kids right now. Maybe I believe in my daughter right now, and she's 3, and my son, and he's 11. Right? I believe in my children. That doesn't mean that my belief in them means that they're going to be successful. It doesn't mean that they're going to be strong. I can only do but so much. At the end of the day, they have to make their own decision and be able to say, I have the ability to endure whatever it takes to get to the other side of things, no matter what it is, right? But I can only preach it but so much. I can only demonstrate it but so much. At the end of the day, they're an adult at some point. Some people are stronger than others. But if you do not have a tight grip, more are going to fall through the cracks than aren't. And I think that's the reality of it. It's like there's a healthy way, and I don't believe in passing on pattern of saying, hey, I was in one toxic relationship, it's normal because my mom and dad did it or whatever, and now I'm in this toxic relationship, it's normal, and this toxic relationship is normal. Is there a healthy way to break through? Yes. I don't think, that's why I'm saying remove yourself, because there's a difference between understanding that you're stagnant, understanding that you're constantly feeling depressed, understanding that you're constantly feeling worthless and invaluable, and versus saying, yo, I always got to go through something with this person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just ask them to wash the dishes every day and they just wash half the dish. Why can't they wash the full sink? We start to make the small things so much bigger. And I actually was reading today, it was posted on my Instagram, and it's called the Psychology of Emotion. And the more you tie, people do not realize that your emotional ties are habitual and they deepen the more the habit persists. So if I have an emotional tie to the fact that you leave the door unlocked, right? And it becomes a habit, it's going to become a bigger and a bigger and a bigger emotion that I'm going to derive from that one action. And now I feel like you're an idiot because you keep leaving the door unlocked. But really, it's just the door being unlocked. You know what I'm saying? Exactly, because you have the emotional ties. That's what's happening. And then let's say I leave, and the first thing I say is, she's so dumb, she couldn't even lock doors. Like, you're so dumb because that was such a small thing. If you saw it unlocked, just lock it. You get what I'm saying? So that's what's happening right now. We're conflating these small things into big things because we have these big emotional ties to these things, and we do not have the ability to endure, and we were never taught it at the same exact time. That's what I believe. You can read it.
This episode is sponsored by Lamar's Truck Sales. Here's a commercial.
What's up, everyone? This is our customer right here, Jafra. He's picking up his truck.
We said why?
We set him up with everything from A to Z. His decals on the side of the door, pallet jack, his DOT inspection, his insurance. Also has a load waiting for him, so when he leaves up out of here, he started making money from day one. Check it out.
That's what I drive.
That's the client, truck, pallet jack. That's what we do at Lamar's Truck Sales. Come see us, we got you.